Welcome to the Super Intelligent Podcast. I'm Emily and I'm here with Mike, and I'm going to immediately out Mike as someone who is going to a Shakira concert in an hour.
Hips don't lie, and yes, it's true. I am going to Shakira. There's basically Shakira's doing this huge tour through Latin America. She did some huge stadium in Mexico City recently, and then very recently decided to do a free concert in Zocalo Square. Zocalo Square, if you're unfamiliar with Mexico City matters, is the place where the Aztecs used to execute prisoners on an industrial scale, and where their incredible city used to be. It was actually the sacred zone of Tenochtitlan, the city that predated Mexico City, and now it's going to be a Shakira concert. So, the more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess.
There you go. It's free though. That's cool.
Yeah, it's free, and I haven't been to a free concert since a Rolling Stones concert in Havana, Cuba, about 11 years ago, I think, something like that.
That's awesome. You've been to some very cool concerts.
Yeah, and I think literally those are the only concerts I've been to in the last decade or so. I think so. I'm not a big fan of concerts per se.
Got it. Yeah.
I think the best expression of not caring is not throwing your hands in the air. And so I try to avoid concerts in general. My wife loves them, and I don't love them, and so she sometimes goes to them without me, and sometimes I go when there's events.
What don't you
so,
like? Like, do you just require a seat? Because there are some nice stadiums with seating.
I don't know what it is. I just don't know what to do during concerts. I mean, you're enjoying the show and stuff like that, of course, but I feel like a lack of control over my activity and time and stuff like that in a massive crowd. And I don't know.
You're overthinking it.
There you
so
go.
For you
exactly
tonight,
that.
Your goal is to just enjoy Shakira concert and don't worry about your hands or,
Right. I mean, the thing to me is that I really want to see the spectacle of it all, because Zocalo Square is the largest square in the world, I think, or Latin America or something like that. It's gigantic.
I've been there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you've seen it. So, it's huge. There's the huge cathedral.
Yeah.
There's the presidential palace on one side of it, which is built out of the stones they removed from the giant pyramids.
Exactly. I did that tour. I love that stuff. Those ruins and the kind of like civilizations over time. And it's just crazy. Fascinating place.
And I'm curious to see how many people show up, because this is a free concert. They don't know how many people are coming. The city has 23 million people in it, basically, and it's a free concert. And so we're so sure that it'll be total gridlock and total crowds that we actually got a hotel room right on Zocalo Square, so that we can just retreat right there, just for the night. But anyway, I'm super excited about it, and I'm basically a college student living the life.
Yeah, you're rallying through podcasting. Excellent.
That's right.
You're getting a good break from AI, which is nice. Get out, see Shakira. She's not an AI hologram yet.
Not yet, but any day now. But a lot of people should be getting away from AI. That was a nice softball transition you handed me, because there are a lot of diseases, pseudo diseases, conditions, etc., that are emerging out of the AI phenomenon. This, you like to say, I think the whole LLM, generative AI chatbot thing started only 3 years and change, right? November 2022.
2022.
Something like that. Yeah.
Three solid years. And then, 2022, 2026, it sounds like 4, but that'll be towards the end of this year.
Right. So I'd like to go through some of these and just discuss them, because they some of them have very little to do with each other, starting with one we've mentioned several times on this podcast, which is AI psychosis, also known as chatbot psychosis. This is a situation where I think the lay public believes that what that means is that when people spend too much time with chatbots, they go Looney Tunes bonkers. And that is actually not what it is. So the phrase chatbot psychosis was coined by a Danish psychiatrist named Søren Dennison Ostergaard. And it was clinically documented kind of, by Dr. Keith Sakata at UC San Francisco in just 2025, last year. And basically the idea is that what happens is, there are people walking around with some level of mental health issues. And when somebody has mental health issues that sort of gravitate around delusional thinking or paranoia or things like that, there are very good ways to speak to those people for friends and family and therapists.
Yes.
And there are very bad ways to speak to them. And chatbots tend to speak to them in a bad way, which leads them down rabbit holes of their pre-existing condition.
It exacerbates.
Exactly.
Like delusions, if it's affirming a delusion, maybe your friends and family would say, no, there's, not a Russian spy plane flying over the backyard. Whereas ChatGPT might say, there very well could be a Russian spy plane flying over your backyard. That's a very interesting thought. And they're like, yes, someone who will listen to me.
That's exactly right. So the National Alliance on Mental Illness actually has general advice for anybody interacting with somebody who has some kind of mental distress. And what their advice says is that basically don't imply that, don't confirm the delusion, but confirm the distress that they're in, basically. And so I'll give you an example, another example, which is that if somebody says, "Oh, I feel like everybody's watching me," right?
Mm-hmm.
A great thing to say to that person is something like, "That sounds really scary," right? So acknowledge that they are undergoing emotional distress, and I'm glad you told me about it. So make it okay for them to talk about it, and then say, "How can I help you cope with this right now?" Right? So you basically asking them to say what they need, what would help, that sort of thing. That's a helpful way to deal with somebody. What a chatbot might say is, "Yes, everybody is definitely watching you. And you're so smart and perceptive to notice that everybody is watching you." And that becomes the beginning of a conversation that just goes in the wrong. It's like the opposite of what a good therapist might say in that conversation. And so that's AI psychosis definitionally. It's not that the AI is making people go bonkers. It's that people who have mental health issues are given bad interaction. So,
yes, excellent definition.
But it's not a clinical mental illness, but it is an actual real problem, and we've seen bits of it, and we've had examples of it on this podcast. So here's one that is, I think, an example of mental health. It's called AI FOMO. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the fear that you're missing out on the revolution of AI, that other people are really digging into OpenClaw and doing all these amazing things. And you really should catch up, but you don't have the inclination, the technical approach, you don't have the wherewithal to keep up with this thing. And it causes FOMO, the fear of missing out. And what I think is interesting about this one is that AI FOMO, the engendering of AI FOMO, is actually part of the business plan. So you hear a whole bunch of leaders, like NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, to all kinds of others. Pretty much all of the thought leaders around AI will tell you something like, AI won't replace you, but somebody using AI will replace you.
Oh, yeah, they love that. Anyone who's making anything related to AI wants to scare you into using AI because they profit from it. And they also see the direction of the business, but you got to be careful who you listen to. And there's so much FOMO. Also on social media, you see people doing crazy experiments. You mentioned OpenClaw. That's a really great point. That's been creating a lot of FOMO for people who don't feel comfortable to download that or the security concerns. But it's hard because a lot of it's hype. Like people will say, "Oh, I did all this stuff with OpenClaw," and it's like, maybe they didn't, or maybe they did it for 30 seconds and it worked, and they were like, "I can make a viral post," and then they're actually not using OpenClaw at all. So it's very confusing to know. You might have FOMO, but it might be based off something that's not real, which is something I think to be aware of.
From the perspective of the irresponsible AI champions who stand to make billions from it personally, and who still have to pay back the billions and billions and billions of investment. And the way I look at that is that you're not going to be replaced by AI. In other words, you're not going to be replaced by this thing that runs on its own. You're going to be replaced by people who pay us $100+ a month. Because that's what we need. We need lots and lots and lots of people to be frightened into paying a lot of money for this stuff. And so that's the business model behind the FOMO, is that if you're really anxious about it, if your career depends on AI, how much would you pay? Right. So that's the
so
idea
effective.
behind it.
It's working so well.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, here's another one that's related. AI anxiety. This is another one that's related because it's healthy to have anxiety about AI. People have dread about all kinds of things, like job loss, privacy violation, what's going to happen to society, what's going to happen when machines are doing all this stuff, what's going to happen with embodied AI, i.e. robots walking around doing stuff. It's like, why wouldn't you be anxious about that sometimes? So I think AI anxiety is a good one to have.
One thing we talked about, we were discussing planning this episode, is kind of like the other side of the coin. Like, there are these negative things that come with using AI, but also a lot of people are using chatbots and they feel really good about it. I think this might be one of them, that there is a way that for some people it eases anxiety. And it could be that they don't know where to start a task and it helps get them going, or they would like to talk to someone about a relational issue and they find that it's helpful just to be able to send a message and get something back. I do think people are anxious, and the fact that they can, whether or not they get something good or not from a chatbot, the fact that they can at least ask is almost like an outlet for them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's right. Exactly right. I think it can be thrilling to use AI sometimes. It can be thrilling to use chatbots. It can be thrilling to use AI image generation tools and to bring into creation something you sort of imagined, and then have the chatbot or have the tool come back with something that's even better than you thought it would be. That can be thrilling. It can be thrilling for a vibe coder to be able to churn out an app, to be able to, instead of being dependent on app developers to create exactly the thing that you want, to be able to yourself create the thing that you want. This can be thrilling. It can be addictive if you keep doing it. And so these are other ways, basically other ways that AI is affecting us psychologically.
I mean, yes, but I mean legitimately a healthy tool, like something people feel is positive. Like, can it legitimately reduce anxiety? And in the example you gave about being thrilled, is a different version of that empowerment that's legitimate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's a very Silicon Valley example. If you wanted to start a company, over the last 20, 30 years or whatever, the conventional wisdom was you need a Steve Jobs and you need a Steve Wozniak. So you need somebody who can go out and raise money and do marketing and speak at conferences, and you need a complete nerd who can sit all night and churn out code and create the thing that is going to be the foundation of your startup. Then you get a little bit of funding, and then you hire some more people and you build up a company, and yada, 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 you're Facebook. And
let's do it.
Yeah. And so this is really hard to do. It sounds easy, but it's really, really, really hard to do. Just the first step is hard to do. Just if you're a Steve Jobs type, in other words, if you're good with people and you're good with concepts and good with marketing and you want a technical person, finding a technical person is actually really, really hard, and vice versa. And so what AI has enabled for the first time ever is now AI can be that other person.
At least to start, at least to create a prototype or a mock-up of, a product you want to create, or a dashboard or a website. At least you could put that in a sales pitch, not have to immediately find that engineer to build it to make the case, right?
That's exactly right. So if you're a technical person, especially if you're a technical person, right, you can use OpenClaw, you can use a million other tools to create a marketing plan, to communicate on your behalf, to post things on social, to to find out the best way to do advertising, do all that kind of stuff. And if you're the marketing type person, you can vibe code the prototype, you can vibe code the app itself even, and then that can get you the funding to enable you to hire actual developers who will do a much better job. It's a whole new world for entrepreneurs. And in terms of that being a positive or negative thing, that's a very positive thing, theoretically.
Theoretically, right? Yeah.
Because it's the difference between creating a company and a future where you have control over your work or not, right? Where you have to go and work for Cisco and you're a cog in the machine. So it's a very positive thing. And I think there are a lot of, I spend a lot of time on Hacker News, and there's a ton of people there who are just ecstatic that they can basically be a one-person company.
Yeah.
They love the idea.
I mean, it could theoretically get more people, be democratizing. It's kind of a buzzword, but, just get more people to explore their ideas and realize if I don't know one single engineer, it doesn't matter. I can get going and I can maybe create momentum on my own, and maybe you could get more people founding businesses, people who aren't just the typical insider Silicon Valley people who aren't as connected. That would be the goal. Maybe we could focus on that stuff a little more with AI, but for some reason we still keep focusing on the same people we always focus on.
Yeah.
And the conversation hasn't widened much, but the usage, I think, has.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, okay. Another malady, AI replacement dysfunction. This is similar to the ones we've talked about. Just the fear of professional obsolescence.
Yeah.
Lots of people have it. We journalists have it. Of course, copy editors have it. Legal professionals, sort of paralegals and people like that have it. And so I think that's probably a healthy fear. That's a reasonable fear grounded in not only the reality of what's happening, but the reality of what everybody says is happening, right? So the experts are constantly saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to replace so many employees." Companies like Jack Dorsey's Block just laid off 600 people because he says their work can be replaced by AI. This is scary stuff. Not only if you get laid off, but if you don't get laid off, right? You're going to have to use AI to make up the slack of all those missing employees.
That was actually the biggest tech company layoff I've ever heard, at 50%. They report layoffs in the percentage, and sometimes it's Verizon 15%, or Rivian did like a 5%. 50% of the workforce is the biggest I've heard. The total number of employees, obviously, it'd be different if Amazon laid off 50% versus this 6,000 person company or something like that, below 10,000. But I also just think it is, I guess, good to always evolve your skills. I'm a huge proponent of that, and I push myself to do that every single day. But also, I think technology has a way of eroding our self-esteem in the modern era. You're never good enough. You're not going to keep your job. You can't just enjoy your day. It's always moving faster than you. Someone's moving faster than you. If you haven't vibe coded yet, you're living in the present, but you're actually 15 years back and you don't even know it. And technology does that to us all the time. It's like you can't even log into your computer sometimes. You forget your password. Oh, you idiot. You can't even get in a computer. And so it has a way of really bringing us down that I think is important to stay on top of.
And lighting a fire under a behinds, which of course the powers that be really like that, because so many of us are working from. How much do you work from home?
Me?
And how much in the office? Yeah.
I'm usually in the office like once or 1.5 or 2 times a week.
Yeah. So you do flex work. You do, part-time work from home. It's especially a thing for people who work full-time remote, and there's no let up of the stress and anxiety about fearing that, they're just deciding they don't need you. And with AI, that's another tool that managers can use, that business leaders can use to make you afraid for your job. And so there's a hope, it's openly stated hope that this will frighten people into working really, really, really hard instead of goofing off in their pajamas all day.
Right. I have a lot of thoughts on work from home. I think people who work for a company should at least go in once a month or once a quarter. I think even if they have to pay for it, it's healthy to touch base with the reality of who you're working with. I think it's hard if you are fully remote, to really even know how to collaborate with people or who can't read body language. You don't know what they think. It's just so difficult. And if you layer AI anxiety on top of that, I mean, it's too much. So I'm a big proponent of kind of like ET phone home at some point for people who work fully remotely, and that has been a very controversial thing. Like I've hardly been able to say that for the past 5 years because everyone's like, "Oh, that's a corporate overlord kind of thing. You know, you should be able to work from Iceland as long as you get your emails done." And I don't personally think it's healthy to be so disconnected from other people and like your work. Maybe I'm just a more collaborative person. I'm not sure, but um, yeah, I got to find a way to like speak more about that. It almost feels like a value. I don't really believe in 100% white collar remote jobs.
I do, and
Yeah,
but
but
I
you don't work
understand.
for a company.
Right, exactly. And
That's
the
a
other
big
thing is that I
difference.
did work collaborative with people, very collaborative with people
You
for the first
learn
couple of
those
decades of my
skills.
career, right? So
Yeah,
I worked in newsrooms my whole career up until, well, probably, well, maybe 12 years, actually, 12, 13 years.
yeah.
But that was priceless as a young person trying to figure it out. And but I also believe that companies that provide hybrid work, as they call it, where you're sometimes in the office, sometimes work from home, it's a
Mhm.
way to keep you tethered close to the office. Whereas you can't
Right,
really be untethered unless you're fully remote. And that's when you can do your email from
right.
Iceland. I think
But you don't work
personally,
fully remote. You have experiences and that is a business and you're doing that in person. So you actually do not work fully
well, I
remotely.
mean, that's my wife's business. I'm just the photographer. I'm basically I work for food, and
Right. But you work with people in person. You have a lot of,
yes,
and you are not
right. That is an
in,
unremotable job too. That I
yes,
mean that
you have
whole
a very
thing.
in person and you're exchanging ideas with people in person. You're not just working alone in a rural area and doing emails and doing whatever from by yourself.
Right. The I think to reword to rephrase what you're saying. Um, I have an extraordinarily social life. And many, or maybe even most, of remote workers who are working abroad have the opposite. There a
Mhm.
lot of isolation. For people who don't have a significant other and are not traveling or living abroad with their significant other, I hear a lot of people just saying, "I can't stand the loneliness. I can't stand all of that
Mhm.
stuff." So yeah, no, I have extraordinarily privileged set of circumstances, and I recognize that. However, I think that life is short and one should travel as much as possible, and this is one way to do
Yes.
it. So,
Yes.
your mileage may vary, but I do believe in. I mean, I have friends. I have children who work in all remote companies where nobody works in an office,
Mhm.
and there are lots and lots of challenges for that. And I have to believe, and I hope that I'm not just saying this uh, through a sort of wishful thinking or delusional state of mind, but I have to believe that we have to evolve management styles, management systems, practices, technologies that enable us to work remotely much better than we
Mhm.
do. So you mentioned body language. There's got to be a way to bring body language into remote communications. There's got to
Mhm.
be a way to measure and compare the output of the productivity or the quality of people's work without what I think is a delusional system, which is management while walking around and, oh, wow, look, that person looks stressed out and they're typing furiously. They must be very productive. I don't think that's a good, they're
Mhm.
actually playing online poker. I don't think that's a good measure of how well somebody's doing
Yeah.
is to look at them. I think some people are better at pretending to look busy than others. And so,
I think looking at people though in person is also very important. I mean, I'm pretty strong on this opinion. I reflected it in my own life. I started at PC. Well, of course, I worked before journalism in person every day. I started at PC Mag remotely. I moved myself closer to New York City, so I could at least go in a couple times a week or one time a week, or not. I mean, I'm very lucky that I don't have a requirement, which I love flexibility, and I've never had a job where I have to be in it 9 or 8 or I'll be punished. That's super important. But I always think there's an element of realness to seeing somebody in person, whether you're a coworker and they might be slow to respond to you on Slack or they might be going through something. I think it's very important to see people in person every so often, and I will die on that hill. I don't think making holograms or whatever is going to work.
So you use the F word, flexibility, and I think that's the key. I think that's really the key, because people should be able to gauge their own level of in-office, work from home type stuff. In fact, people already do to a certain extent. Even somebody who's required to be in the office 40 days a week, 40 hours a week, 40 days a week. That's only in the AI neighborhood of San Francisco. 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Those people are answering emails. They're doing some work on weekends and so on. So people are kind of managing what they need to do for their career and what they need to do for the requirements of their office. But there are people. I'll give you one of my favorite examples. Parents, you may have a job that requires you to be in your seat until 5 p.m. You may have kids who go to a school that require you to pick up the kid at 3. What do you do? It's a real problem. It's nice to be able to say, okay, I'm going to leave at 2. I'm going to go pick up the kid. I'm going to take him to soccer practice. Then I'm going to go back to work. And then my spouse is going to go pick them up after soccer. And to be able to manage that stuff is so necessary in the world that we have today, because everybody's overscheduled. Everybody's so inflexible. And so that helps a lot. And I think that's more important. Flexibility, flex hours is what people, not location, but hours is the most important thing that a company can offer and give themselves a competitive advantage, because the best employees are going to leave, other companies come work for you if you offer that kind of flexibility.
It's very important. It's important for gender equality. It's important for women being able to work. It's important for men to be able to spend time with their kids. It's very important in general. I just think if you're going to spend time to go, pick your kid up and invest in that part of your life, I do think you should also meet your coworkers in person for a lunch for a couple hours. Like I think there's balance. I think the work from home extreme has swung too far to the point where it's isolating people. It's ebbing away from their satisfaction at work and their ability to professionally grow. I think it's gone too far, but I definitely am not a 5 days in the office person. Absolutely not. Yeah, I think fully remote is almost like extreme.
And I have one last thing to say about that before we get back to the AI maladies, which is that I'm a big Cal Newport fan. Cal Newport has he's written several books, but his first major runaway hit was Deep Work, and his idea is that with each passing year, shallow, interrupted work, it becomes less valuable. And deep work, the ability to sit down for 6 hours and focus on one thing without interruption, without noise, without any of that stuff, becomes more valuable to companies. And so when you see companies like Facebook, which has the world's largest open office plan in Menlo Park, they built this, 10 years ago, whenever, they deliberately said, okay, we want everybody together in the same space with no cubicle walls and no offices, and everybody, Mark Zuckerberg himself will be right in the middle and everybody have access to everybody. And there'll be so many collaborative things. This is a collaboration bias, and a collaboration bias is a bias against deep work. So some companies have a deep work bias, right? That's the more valuable type of work. And again, you get back to flex work. What we really need is for people to choose for themselves when they need to do deep work and when they need to collaborate, and be able to be flexible about that based on their personalities, based on the work they do, based on the teams they're in, all that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're agreeing on this. Yeah. Okay. All right. AI dependency syndrome. I think you mentioned this in a previous podcast, which is where sufferers feel that they can't think or communicate without the use of chatbots. And so they use it for just about every cognitive task. So it's like, I'm going to go to the store. So they go to ChatGPT and it's like, what kind of groceries do I need to get? And so I think this is a real thing. It's a minor condition. I don't think people are going to end up in a straitjacket over this one, but AI dependency syndrome is something that is a real and growing problem. And part of it, I think, is related to imposter syndrome, right? People feel that they can't do stuff by themselves, and so they feel a lot of comfort in having AI do it for them.
Yeah, I think it's like a habit or dependency. That's a good word. You feel, oh, I'm in the grocery store. I want to make something. How do I make mac and cheese? ChatGPT. Okay, I need to buy cheddar. I need to get, I don't know what else is it, like cornstarch or something.
Mac is also
cheese.
In it.
Rather than maybe just thinking through and coming up with their own recipe, like, oh, I like green onions, I'm going to put those in too. Like just having fun with it. I was judging a journalism contest for like B2B journalism, something that a mentor set me up with, and I read, I think it was like generative AI, best generative AI coverage, and it was an Ad Age article that they had submitted, and it was about a brand that evolved their packaging to be AI friendly because they think people are talking to ChatGPT in the aisle. So let's say it's like Clorox or something. They're saying like what they take a picture of all the cleaners. They send it to ChatGPT and they say, which one should I get? And they're changing the words on the label. They're changing everything for that new discovery mechanism. And yeah, people are doing it. Absolutely. A lot of young people too.
Well, I got two things to say about this. The first is mac and cheese. So I'm a huge fan of food history. Do you know why mac and cheese is such a big deal in the U.S.?
No.
Thomas Jefferson. So when Thomas Jefferson was, I think he was the U.S. ambassador to France, was living in Paris, and he had mac and cheese. So at the time, macaroni is a Italian food. It's a pasta, and especially popular in southern Italy, especially in Sicily. Even to this day, is a huge macaroni culture there. But it was a fad in London and Paris. Like it was this strange Italian food that everybody was like crazy about, and he loved it. So he sent for his slave chef to come to Paris and learn how to make pasta. And so he learned all kinds of European foods, and then he went back, and at Monticello he would have this pasta with this like cheesy sauce, and the press picked up on it. It was this big craze. He's having this thing, and everybody called it macaroni and cheese, and so this became this whole cultural thing in the early 19th century, the 1800s basically, but it was considered an extremely fancy European food, to the point where things that when people were putting on airs and pretending to be more European than American, they called it macaroni. But there were other people who thought, well, we should aspire to macaroni styles. We should aspire to macaroniness and be more sophisticated like those Europeans. And like that song, Yankee Doodle Dandy, is in fact about that.
That's what I'm thinking. I never
knew
what that meant. Put a feather in his cap and
called it macaroni. So what they're saying is that the author of that song is criticizing the type of people who don't know how to be genuinely sophisticated. They only put a feather in their cap, and they call that macaroni. Anyway.
Well, I'm satisfied for this podcast. That just answered every question I had growing up.
All right. Good. All right. That's what we do here, folks. We answer
Mic drop on the macaroni.
Macaroni-related questions. My second thing is, this is a funny story, and I want to make sure that I tell it on this podcast before I forget. We did an experience recently. We had in Oaxaca, and we had a person there who is very good at using AI, and he uses it for all kinds of things. And he wanted to have a photo of his passport for some app that needed a picture of the passport, and so he sort of held it down with a clip type thing, and then he turned it over to get the other side and held that down with the clip. So he had two pictures that had these clips in the picture, and he uploaded it into, I don't know which chatbot he's using, and said, put all this together into one image and get rid of the clips. Basically, that's what he did. So it did that beautifully, and it reproduced it, and it looked perfect, and it was flat, and it was nice and legible. But it completely changed his passport number. It changed the expiration date.
Big problem.
It changed, it changed these things. Like it wasn't like gobbledygook, like weird thing. No, there were actual numbers, just the wrong ones.
And he just didn't know because they looked the same?
Or he knew. He saw it right away, but he was just fascinated that it would do. Like, why not use the numbers that are there? Like, what, the way
it's compulsively creative AI. Like when it doesn't need to be. Like nobody asked you to comment on that, and it does that all the time. That's a hallucination. Yeah. It's a compulsive. It can't say I don't know. It's like it has to say something. It's like word vomit.
And it's indifferent to what's true and false. It's like, oh, there's some. You want some numbers there? Here's some numbers.
It doesn't know the sanctity.
I got all the numbers.
It doesn't understand how you just don't mess with passport numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. All right.
Wait, I want to use macaroni as like a cool. Can we come up with, oh, that's so macaroni. Like what? How do you use?
You want to bring it back?
I want to bring it back.
All right, let's do it. Let's bring it back. We'll bring it back in the show title probably. I'm not making any promises.
It's not flowing. It's not coming out right. I don't know if we should just say it's Mac or it's Roni or I don't know. We'll noodle on it. How about that?
Yes. Okay, good. I like it.
I'm obsessed. Sorry with the macaroni.
If it can't be macaroni, at least we could. If it can't be macaroni, at least we can be cheesy. All right. Back to the diseases. Digital darkness anxiety. This is related to the AI dependency syndrome, where people fear that they may be in a situation where they don't have access to their AI chatbot and are afraid that they won't be able to answer a question or communicate. That's a problem. Okay, let's go to the next one. Parasite. There's nothing.
It's true. That's a problem. Yeah.
It's related to the previous one. Okay, parasocial bot attachment. This is an interesting one. So we all know what parasocial relationships are. That's when you feel like you really, really know somebody, like say Shakira, but Shakira doesn't know you from Adam, but you have this whole this celebrity looms large in your life. Well, this can happen with AI-based relationship apps, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you form a relationship, I'm doing air quotes, and you have an AI girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, that is actually parasocial because there's nobody there. You're by yourself and you think you're having this back and forth. By definition, a relationship involves at least two people. It's called parasocial bot attachment.
But it is kind of a relationship to, almost like you could have a relationship to an object. You could have a relationship with a dog. I don't know if you've seen that show, My Strange Addiction, but there's that iconic episode where that guy has a relationship with his car.
I have not seen that.
You have to see it. We should put that clip in the show notes because it's like one of the best things that's ever aired ever on TV.
All right.
Ever.
Okay. But I will disagree. A relationship with a dog is not parasocial. The dog is fully involved in that relationship, and it's reciprocal, and
it's mutual.
You feel affection for it. It feels affection for you. You will protect it. It will protect you, and so that's an actual relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what if the AI is connected to an OpenClaw agent and it is looking out for you somehow? And
you just turning my crank now.
I am.
Yeah. No, there's nobody there. There's nobody there. It's software running through routines and you're all by yourself. Sorry, folks, you should not get attached to bots because they are not reciprocating.
You're so mad.
Anything. I'm so mad.
I'm poking. All right, next.
All right. AI dysphoria. People create AI versions of themselves. They post it on Instagram. They like what they see, and they can't stand the real version of themselves. Their self-image becomes the AI version of themselves, and they feel like they have a lot of discomfort with any version of themselves that is not the AI version. This is similar. Like dysphoria takes many, many forms. There are bodybuilders who get this dysphoria where, bodybuilders are just gigantic, but they feel like they're too skinny and they feel like they're not big enough. And people with anorexia or conditions like eating disorders feel like they're overweight, even if they're very underweight. And so this is another type of dysphoria. And I think this is a real one. I've actually seen this.
Yeah, that strikes me as
online.
Very real. I mean, you see people who post pictures of themselves and it's like, why did you use AI in that moment? Like what drove you to think that was the right decision. Like something feels really off about that.
The other thing that's interesting about AI dysphoria that I've noticed is that I don't think anybody likes pictures of themselves. Nobody likes their own face. Nobody likes to see themselves on video. This is one of the reasons why it's difficult to do a video podcast, is because it's like everybody else likes your face, but it's hard for one to like one's own face. And so for some reason. And so what I've found is that when people do an AI version of themselves, it doesn't look like them. The profile pic that they chose, they love it. But it actually, if you love that person, you're like, that's not the person I know. Like that, I don't recognize that person really.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem we need to solve, is just being more comfortable with ourselves and our faces and not overthinking things. And I think it's just hard in the modern day because when you take content, it's blasted everywhere. Like if you used to take a family photo or a video, it just never went anywhere. It's like you don't care what anyone cares what you look like. Yeah. And now it's susceptible to so many opinions. I think the anxiety of that has just become crushing.
Right. I take pictures of people all the time for gastronomic experiences and for other things. And everybody wants the picture where you all line up and you smile and you freeze and then you take the picture. Everybody loves that. I hate that picture. I don't hate it. It's fine. People like it. It's fine. But I also take pictures of people from the side doing things, not really knowing that there's a camera there per se, or not really caring that there's a camera there. And people who are not used to that kind of photo can be like, I'm not sure. I didn't know I looked like that, or I don't like the way I look.
Yeah.
When you pose for a photo, you're like, okay, I've done this a bunch of times and I know just what to do with my face to make it something that I'm happy with, right?
Right.
Smile, all that stuff. And so, but other people looking at that person in that candid moment love it because they love that
that's
person.
What you look like.
Exactly.
That's like when I go to a dressing room or I'm in Macy's or something and I go to look at the shirt and they have those mirrors.
The side mirror so you can see the angle.
I'm looking at myself and I'm like, what? Like that's what my profile looks like. Like that's what my ear looks like. I'm just like
I'm never turning to the side again.
Yeah, because you can look straight ahead, but you see like a 360 and I'm just... I'm such a dork, but I definitely look at that and I'm like, I haven't seen that before.
That's universal. That's universal. Anyway, so AI dysphoria. Another one is automated ghosting syndrome. This is when you feel terrible when it's especially prevalent when you're looking for a job, to know that AI has rejected your application and no person has even considered it.
Terrible.
So you're being ghosted by software. And you feel like if only you could talk to somebody, they could see your worth, your value, they'd at least interview you. But no, a machine has decided you're unworthy even for a reply. And so this is whether or not this makes you depressed or not, this happens a million times every day.
It's terrible. And I'm going to go back to my work from home rant. If you're not in a place where you can network and you can meet people and maybe you actually know the person that you've applied to the job, again, it feels terrible. So I'm just going to say it comes in many forms.
Yes. Deathbot incongruence anxiety.
What the heck is that?
So I started writing about deathbots. Is
that what you and me have? Is that our dynamic?
God, I hope not.
What is that?
It's when one of us would have to be dead in order for that to be the case. So yeah, I definitely hope not. I've been writing about deathbots for long before the AI revolution.
Okay,
basically,
that's news
a deathbot
to me.
is a software-based version of somebody who's died, so that you can interact with. So this began in Japan 15 years ago when somebody created an augmented reality tool where you point your phone at your grandparents' grave sites, side-by-side graves, and a holographic version of your grandparents are like, "Hi."
This does not feel healthy at all. This just feels like, how do you go from like having breakfast to doing that to going about the rest of your day? Like that's too much.
but deathbots have become much more sophisticated with AI, and there are companies where you can actually go and they'll interview you endlessly, and it will capture your face, your mannerisms, your facial expressions, your body language, and all the details of your life, so that later your great-great-grandparents can have a conversation with you right? And it'll have as much as the AI could have captured at the moment of that capturing. But deathbot incongruence anxiety is when that deathbot, the AI avatar, behaves in a way or says things in a way that's different from the real person, and it causes anxiety.
Wow, that's a nightmare. I like that. That's a very forward-thinking term, my friend. I like that you brought that up because people are trying to make that happen really a lot.
Suzanne Summers' husband had her created, and it says that it is as good as a real thing, basically.
Well,
so
I don't, okay, I don't even know where to begin on that. What's going on with those?
He's super into the deathbot, and if
he probably likes it more than he liked her.
If he meets somebody else, it's going to be Three's Company.
I'm out.
All right. So, okay, cognitive atrophy or digital brain rot. We all know about this one. We talked about it a lot. Mm-hmm. This one's intuitive, where you let AI do everything for you, and therefore your brain turns to mush. All right, here's another one. Veracity fatigue. It's a mental condition where the sheer volume of AI slop and chatbot hallucinations erodes your feelings of cognitive security. You become so exhausted by trying to filter out the disinformation, the falseness, the fakeness, that you can stop believing any source, and it can lead to total social and intellectual withdrawal. Veracity fatigue.
Jeez.
Ask for it by name.
I had a weird AI experience this week with Claude that the term veracity. I was asking it for advice.
So did the Pentagon, but that's a different story. We'll talk about some of the
time. I was asking it for advice because I have that free $100 a month plan right now that they gave me. So I've been like trying to use it, because it doesn't have any limits. If I have to ask a chat about something, I'm just using Claude right now. And it's just terrible at giving advice. And I realized all chatbots are terrible. I mean, you have access to every single study in the world on a certain subject. You don't cite one. They don't cite, they're just like hype people. You can't say, oh yeah, based on this study, you're more likely to be happy in this scenario, or based on this and that study, if, this is a more likely outcome. Like, why don't they cite? They don't cite. They do a terrible job. They have all this knowledge, and all they do is hype you up and form these wacko theories. Why are they so bad if they're supposed to be so smart?
Yeah.
What the heck? I mean, it's just like, why don't they have any data ever? They don't cite anything ever.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. I sometimes have asked for a list of things, like what are the companies that do XYZ, and sometimes they just give you one, or more commonly they just give you categories. Oh, companies who are in the XYZ business give you XYZ.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
they're not smart. Yeah, I think it's almost like they try to be less smart because they want to be more human. Like when you're talking to a human for advice, they're not going to bring up studies, or they're not going to know every company in the world. Like they want to feel more real, but it's like, why don't AI just own who you are? You have all this information, bring it to the forefront. Just don't be weird.
They try to be weird. It's going to be a long time before AI is able to not be weird.
Ugh. Anyway, yeah. That's the veracity thing. It's like, why are they just present things like it's true? And it's like, I feel like you could figure that out.
Here's another one that's in the same category: information utility burnout. This is a malady where people spend hours consuming verbose, off-topic, and factually hollow AI-generated responses.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, that's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
And so people have a repulsion response to reading long-form content because they get so used to being fed all this stuff they didn't ask for.
Yes.
On what date was, Kennedy assassinated? And then you get this whole biography of JFK.
Right. And also the chatbots, they'll have such certainty when they talk. And so people don't like reading anything that doesn't conclude strongly the point, where it's like the chatbots just are not nuanced sometimes.
Absolutely. Okay, here's another one. Algorithmic loneliness. When social feeds are so perfectly tailored to AI that they no longer encounter challenging, surprising human perspectives, leading to a profound sense of isolation despite being connected. This is a problem with the bots on social. So, this is, in fact, something that I think most people who suffer from this aren't even aware that it's AI that's causing the problem. They just interacting on social makes them feel really weird because it's like it's so algorithmically tailored. I think this is probably truest on Instagram, right? So you go through Instagram feeds, and it's some of the people you do follow, but it's also they add things in there, and you're like, okay, this is a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. Do you have to go to the Shakira concert?
No, I mean, yes, but
is it time?
Very soon. Well, I think we should cover two more maladies because these are fun ones.
Okay.
And by fun, I mean depressing. So, okay, LLM gaslighting. So when a chatbot user relies on AI for factual or emotional support, the AI insistently corrects the user's correct memories with false data. So chatbots are supposed to learn about you and sort of be customized, but sometimes it will sort of disagree with or contradict something that you know to be true, and you feel like you're being gaslit.
Yeah. That can happen.
Yeah. And it's bad.
I think you just have to be careful when anything has power over you. I actually say the same thing for therapists. If you're going to therapy, you're getting all this advice, the therapist is leading you in a certain direction. That's a lot of power over you in a specific moment. And you may also not want to listen to that. You have to decide what you want to take and not take. And I would say the same for an AI. If you're letting it into these really serious things, it's telling you you're not right. I mean, you have to, things have power over you. You got to be very careful. And I don't think you should let an AI gaslight you.
No.
Just have your own sense of self, for sure.
Right.
In any scenario.
That's right. And whenever a chatbot is causing any such distress, you should always challenge it and be mean to it. It has no feelings.
Yeah.
And just be direct and harsh with it. And it's actually good practice because we should all be more direct. We shouldn't be harsh with people, but we should always be honest and direct with people and get to the bottom of what's true when we're in a situation where somebody's being gaslit. So that's my general advice. Okay, one more. Dead internet despair. Okay, so I've written about the dead internet theory. I think we've talked about the dead internet theory on this, right? So the dead internet...
We haven't too much, but people are into it. Yeah, explain.
Yeah, so the dead internet theory is a false conspiracy theory that says, and we'll get to the true part in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say I kind of think it's true, but
yeah,
it's maybe not true. I'm a conspiracy theorist.
The conspiracy theory part of it is that there's a conspiracy among the global elite and among the Illuminati and among the world government and whatever to replace humans online with bots. And so the idea is that the theory has always held that most quote unquote, most of the stuff on the internet is placed there by bots because of this conspiracy. And then when you think you're talking to people on social, when you think you're talking to people on Reddit, you're actually talking to bots. Now, the true part is that, in fact, more than half, therefore most, of the content online is now created by AI and or bots. And so the false part of that is that there's no global conspiracy. It's just what happened as the result of the AI business model and all the rest.
Right.
But so that's the dead internet theory. So dead internet despair is a type of, it's unclinical, this is not official, but it's a type of depression that results from the belief that because the majority of web traffic and content is bot-generated slop, any attempt at genuine human connection online is futile. So people, and I know people like this, they believe that basically everybody they talk with online is a bot. And so what's the point? What's the point of chatting online?
Yeah.
It's all just software.
I definitely am watching this trend, and just the quantity of AI generated content is something I definitely have my eye on. And since it is accelerating, that's where, to me, the dead internet theory is that the internet as we know it will be dead because you never know if it's AI or human. And I think what attracted people to the internet was this form of connectivity with other people that's going away. So that's dying. Even I wrote an article about when you read a Reddit post, you don't know if it's human generated or not. So something like that is completely undermining the purpose of Reddit. Or the same thing happened with reviews on Amazon reviews. You know, people were like, this is BS. Like, I don't even know if this is by a real person. And so people were turned off. I think that's accelerating a lot, and the internet as we know it is dying. So that's, to me, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Maybe. Could be.
I don't think so.
You're going to need a
true.
new tinfoil. No, it is true. And I think that there was a previous I get the generations mixed up, but I think there was a previous generation years ago that got off Facebook because grandma was on Facebook, and they wanted to be open with their friends, and they really wanted to do social networking with their friends.
Yeah.
But your parents' friends are following you, and it's like weird. So let's get on Snapchat, where you can you can know.
Started with
just
my
your
generation.
Friend.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. But I think that the current generation of youngsters may be doing the same thing because of the dead internet despair idea, where you don't know who you're talking to when you're just on the social world. So find a little group of people personally know. It might be 6 people, it might be 10 people.
Right.
And that's your social networking. Because who wants to talk to a bot? It's like, I'm
especially
just guessing,
one that's not telling you it's a bot. That's the worst thing, is that you can't tell.
Oh, and which bots do tell you? Like, they don't tell you. Almost
I don't know about this whole bot network. That's kind of weird. I mean, I feel like I'm talking to a bot when I'm talking any customer service is like for sure a bot.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're doing this podcast, but
wait, are you calling me a bot?
No,
what do you mean?
Feel like you feel like you're talking to a bot.
Oh no.
But I jest. But the app, there are apps that where the whole purpose of the app is that everyone else is a bot. I forgot what it's called, but they're like the social network.
Tons
where
of them. Character.
You become this influencer. You're very influential among nobody. Basically, it's a social network full of bots. They tell you.
If that's Reddit, what people like at this point, I'm just like, sure. If you're getting the outcomes you want in life by doing that, fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to go to the Shakira concert, and so I will bid you all adieu. This is the Super Intelligent Podcast, and we are here to solve the world's problems and tell you the origins of mac and cheese, among other things, and to talk about all the diseases that have emerged. And basically what we're talking about is the cultural impact of technology. And that's what we do here. We discuss it from our own personal perspectives informed by spending way too much time doing research about technology as tech journalists. So I thank you all for your listenership and urge you to not be a bot, be a human, and click 5 stars and write a glowing review for this podcast if you like it, and share it if you like it. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again. This is Super Intelligent.